Everybody. This is a brand new unit for us. I'm Vicky Hannah and I'm going to be your presenter for this recorded unit. So this is week 1 of 3 weeks, CHCMHS011. So if you're not joining us in live class, then you will be able to get this recording, and this will sit beautifully beside your learner's guide. You will have the full slides. I've created slides for our live class, and that's what I'm going to be showing you now in this recording. So when you open up your slides, it might look a little different. The reason why I've taken these slides out of your full suite of what you have is just to break it down a little for you. I like our week 1 to be an overview of what it is that you can expect out of this unit, walk you around what assessments are involved in it, and then we're going to do a second recording tonight, and that will be with your peers in class. And again, it's another resource for you to be able to work with. This one has 4 units. This is about assessing and promoting social, emotional, and physical well-being, which is what our mental health is if we take a holistic approach. So let's begin. I'll start with our acknowledgement to country. So in the spirit of reconciliation, Hayter Institute of Education acknowledges the traditional custodians of land throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We recognise Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the first inhabitants of this nation and the traditional custodians of the land on which we work, live and study. We express our gratitude for the sharing of this land, our sorrow for the personal, spiritual and cultural costs of that sharing, and hope that we may move forward together in harmony and in the spirit of healing. We pay our respect to all First Nation people and acknowledge elders past, present and emerging. And I extend this welcome out to everyone who is watching this recording, those who attend our live classes, and the rest of our learner community who is watching this recording if you cannot make it to classes in real time. So I come to you from Tarraballang Bundaland in Queensland. So a little bit of housekeeping. When you get these recordings, these are your resources to keep. Some of the content can be triggering. We want you to look after yourself. We are a live camera on college, but there are reasons where people cannot always have their camera on. We like to make this space your adult space learning. When we're discussing things in class, you can't see all of the learners that are there. So we have quite a big class on the Tuesday night. And for some people, they want to be there, but maybe not participate fully. And I completely understand that. But to be engaged and involved, to have that opportunity if you do come to class, know that we will record that for you. But then also know that it gives me an opportunity to progressively assess your skills and your underpinning knowledge. So it's a great way to connect with peers when you're looking for someone to do role plays with you. And it's also a good way to get to know your trainer as well. So it is your resource, though. It's absolutely, you can stop and start it. It'll come to you in a YouTube. I recommend that if you're new to Hayter and new to study, or if you haven't yet started this process, then open up a folder and call it Certificate for Youth Work. And then open up a subfolder inside each and put each unit that you're working on. So this folder would be called CHCMHS011. And your learner's guide, download that. Your learner's guide holds 75% of the answers to your question in your assessment. The rest of them, we unpack that in our live discussions, which is going to come to you in a second recording coming out of week 1. And then also your own research, a little bit of evidence-based data. Go to a credible site. We'll talk about that in our second recording tonight. We'll send everybody off to a breakout room and then we'll get them to come back and have a chat about it. So be kind to yourself when you're studying. There is a lot of work in studying. You're doing a Cert 4, and Cert 4 is high demand. It's often the minimum requirement for people to be working in the youth sector. The other things that you must have is your working with children check, your suitability card. Start on those things sooner rather than later. By the time you get into work placement, you absolutely will have to have that. If you are a sector worker, you may have that already, but if you're not, then you can apply for a student one. Hader will assist you with that process and give you the evidence that you are a student. You will require that Cert to have no fee. So students and volunteers should be no fee, and a paid employee, there is normally a fee. It's like our first, like if we're doing first aid, we have to renew it every so many years. Sorry, I just get a reminder and it tells me. Okay, so let's move along a little bit to the theory side of this as well. Just a bit of an overview around that. And I did a little bit of a brief intro on that. I'll do that again in part 2. So very skills heavy, this one. How do we approach mental health? What is mental health and well-being for people? So the assessments are a quiz, question and answer. Task number 2 is a role play, Mary, and we'll show that tonight in our next recording. Next is task 3, another role play. So we've got Tom and we've got Paul. But this is week 1. In week 1, I like to do an overview of the whole unit, not rush it, and see where that goes. This gives you the purpose behind it, why we study this one as youth workers, how you can work with journal, putting your thoughts together around that, the mental health processes of the day. I will talk a bit about how to keep a journal for you as a youth worker, how to de-identify your clients, but just to unpack what's happening for you as a worker. And then what we're going to be doing with our clients, that we'll do crisis intervention, support planning, how are you going to engage with them in a compassionate way that's non-judgmental. All of these are learned. These are soft skills and hard skills. So nobody knows how to do any of this until they're taught. You might be the kind of person that someone says you're so easy to talk to, which means you're an excellent listener. And that's such a core strength in this space, not to be listening to reply, but listening to understand, being fully present for your client, not about advice. And we should tame our advice monster right down. And we should be listening to what the priority might be for our client. We'll see that demonstrated in our second one tonight. So there's sector standards. We talk about working inside the scope of our role, very important. That we have very much an outcomes-based approach. So with this unit, it's like, what is the client's goal? And we write those down. We give you the template to work with as well. So reflect on your reading material as well. Reflect on your practitioner skills, your role plays. We give you case studies or scenarios. It's about your communication and intervention strategies, and we give you an opportunity to simulate what that would be like in the workplace. Live in class is different. You do get instructions when you're doing these and recording these with your friends or family or colleagues. Try and do them with your peers in class so that you can be the client for them. Sitting in the chair being the client is just as valuable. It connects you, it gives you that empathy, and it's authentic, and we'll give you demonstrations on that as well. So think about the case studies. How do you want to approach that? What would you say and do for that client around their mental health and well-being? Read about it first so that you're prepared when you come in. So a little bit around your career pathways, how to reflect on this unit as an online learner. Make sure that your evidence base comes from a reliable source. And when you're putting anything in writing, make sure that you refer to it and say, I picked up this information from the Department of health, it might be the Commonwealth one. You put a copy of the link to the site where you got that evidence, and then your assessors will maybe press on that link and go, yep, that's valid, that's reliable. So it must be evidence-based. If you make a claim and say, this is a fact, make sure that you support such statements. You can quote from those as long as you reference them and say, this has been taken from this. If it's from a book that's credible. So there's lots of different approaches to mental health, like there is with physical health, but you're a trained professional, you're getting a qualification. Everything that underpins that means that it must be your certificate is meeting a national standard. So your qualification will be recognised everywhere in Australia. Okay, so look, we talked a little bit about the tools that you need to have, like a K10 is one of them. Do a little bit of research around what tools you're going to work with. Again, you'll get them from credible resources. Allied health professionals will use things like a K10, a wellbeing wheel, something like that, or the Alliance Circle, who is their support people. We'll unpack that a little bit in our second recording tonight, what tools will be used in the role play by one of our learners. I talk about role plays and compassion and how we approach that. And then in our second recording tonight, we jump into task 2, which is a role play about Mary. And there's 2 parts to that. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take you over to what it asks of you with all of your assessments. So just let me open that up for us. I'm certainly hoping that you can see my screen and that I'm going to be sharing that with you. I'm hoping that you can see this. Okay, let's see if I can move that little mark off the line. Okay, great. So this is task 1 of 4. See on the top there, it's got the unit code, assess and promote social, emotional and physical wellbeing. And then it says T1 of 4. T stands for task. There are 4 tasks, and this is an online quiz. So with this one, it actually has many questions, 19 quiz questions for you. How will you know the answers to those? You can go into your e-learning, that's your practice run, get used to it. But the answers are in your learner's guide. So your learner's guide, you read that, scan through it fairly quickly the first time, just get a feel for it, the language and that, then come over to your own porthole, have a look and go, yep, I can see that it's got 4 assessment tasks there for me to do. Task 1 being the quiz, task 2 a role play, task 3 a role play, and task 4 is a role play. So with this one, it says you will demonstrate your knowledge. The knowledge comes from your learner's guide and other research that you do by answering a series of questions that relate to this unit of competency. You must answer all the questions correctly to get a pass. You get 3 attempts. If you fail one, some of these questions are automatically marked. I'll show you. It gets done with an Autobot, but otherwise it's a real human, myself and a whole team of trainers and assessors, that when you submit your work, we go to that wait list and we start at the top and work our way down. Anyone who is qualified to mark the assessment that you upload will be the assessor, and we will give you feedback. And it might be that you've got, out of these 19 questions, you might have 18 correct. And that one that's there that needs feedback on to help you with your next attempt. That means you won't do the 18 again. It just means there's that one, and all of those answers just go over to your try again. So if you haven't got feedback, or you haven't got feedback that makes sense, that that's also okay for you to give us that feedback. Who do you take that to? You take that to your learner support officers, your LSO at hayderinstitute.edu.au, and they'll guide you with that. But I would like to think that we are making sense for you, or taking something that's the unknown and helping you get to the known. Our feedback should be guiding you back on track. You get 3 attempts to do each task. Now, there is no penalty whatsoever if you don't get it correct. But at 3, if our feedback isn't working, we can definitely open more attempts for you. But 3 kind of flags it for us too. So it's often the learner support team will say, Vicky, can you open up more attempts for this learner? But what I'll do is I'll go back over and I'll have a look and go, I can see where maybe there's a gap in that knowledge. And I might put some different feedback in there, or I open up another couple of questions or attempts for you to do that. And I may even email you if it's my eyes on. And I'll say, look, here's a bit of a guide, do it in your own words, but I want to point you in that direction. And if I am your trainer to your classes, you absolutely can contact me. It might take me 48 hours to get back to you. So I don't sit at my desk just reading emails. I do other things as well. And of course, every trainer at Hayter is a sector worker, so we have other jobs because we are a night RTO. We're a night college, and so our rosters all happen at night late. So we have our learner support officers available for you from 10 a.m. in the morning till 7 p.m. at night, Monday to Friday. So with this overview, it's, what happens if you get something wrong? You'll just get to try again. And absolutely no penalty whatsoever. You can have 20 attempts if you need it, really. But we don't want you to feel frustrated. At the 3rd, if it's not getting traction, there's work for us to do with you and for you there as well. This is not just putting it out there and you're not on your own. You do have support, but there's an expectation that you've gone in. Every one of the questions that you have, especially in task 1s, they exist in your learner's guide. So I like to download the learner's guide and put it in my folder, because I can open it up as a document and then I can do a search and I'll put the sentence in or the question in, and it tells me every page that comes up in my learner's guide. So I study as well, like you guys. So I find some workarounds, as well. They're little tips. Try that. Here we are at question number 1. The question says, match each of the following models of practice with how they can be used to improve a person's well-being. It says, for each definition, select an option from the drop-down below. So there's a drop-down right below it. So it says this one here. This starts with an assessment of what the patient wants. It also includes identifying all the things the client has done to try to achieve their goals and how well these have worked. When you click on the drop down, one of those is the correct answer. So you just go back to the original question. And here are some keywords in there for you. It starts with an assessment of what the patient wants, or client in our case. It also includes identifying all the types of things the client has done to try to achieve their goals and how well these have worked for them. So that starts to break it down a little bit more. Cognitive behavior approaches, that's a therapeutic thing. CBT is therapy. Acceptance and commitment therapy, that's also therapy. Strength-based approaches, liking that one. Narrative approaches, maybe. Motivational interviewing is how we get the information. And solution-focused approaches, maybe. Now let's go back to the question. This starts with an assessment of what the patient wants. So that's about what they want. And then it also includes things that the client has done to try to achieve these goals and how well they've worked in the past. Strength-based approaches is looking stronger. But you're just looking at the moment and you're finding your way around. Same thing. This approach teaches clients to question and challenge negative thoughts and self-beliefs. Next one, client and case manager work together to identify the current strengths, relationships, and any natural supports that might be around. So right underneath it, it gives you some options. You will click on which one it is, and then you'll move on to the next one and select that. So it might be that you get these 4 correct and these 2 wrong. Our feedback we give you could be you have this one correct, this one correct, this one correct, and this one correct. So you need to flip these 2, because if they're all correct and these 2 aren't, then you've just got them in the wrong spot. So they're fairly easy, the multiple choice and putting them in the right space. Here, it's about the 5 stages of change model. So it means, how ready is someone for change? Are they at the pre-contemplating change, their readiness, contemplating? Are they preparing for that change? They've made the change. How do they maintain it to be like that? And what if they have a step backwards? What if they relapse? What if they become unwell? What if they use that coping mechanism? So for this, it's about the stage of the change model, and you need to enter in here a brief description of what pre-contemplation is, what's happening for the client, and contemplation, and so forth down that list. Discuss the social exclusion, inclusion for people living with mental illness. And this is going to be about stigma. This is about people being misdiagnosed or not diagnosed at all, overlooked. We'll talk a little bit more about that in our session tonight in your second recording. But this information, your learner's guide, is exactly what it says. It's a guide for you to do your assessments. Discuss any issues of systemic oppression, which can be in mental health units, it can be agencies, can even be education, where you might have people on the spectrum who are divergent, and we all have a neurology, but a neurotypical may not struggle with the same things that a neurodivergent may. So it's about, are we adapting to the needs of all, or are we excluding some people from accessing the things that other people can readily access as well? So here, the following link, it's got To Good Therapy. Click on that and that will give you some assistance. We've given you a guide there. Explain how each of the following promotes wellbeing. How does education help and fill the gap? How does a safe workplace and employment, is it inclusive? What sits around Fair Work Australia? Go in onto their website and find out around employment. Who are the governing agency for these places? Community, volunteering, hobbies and interests, and then personal interests as well. So as you go through task 1, you're actually going through all of those 19 questions, which forms part of your foundational skills, your key learnings around that as well. Let me just drop in here. You're in my portal now, which may or may not look a little bit different for you. So if this is unfamiliar, it's not yours, it's my portal. and where I work with here. So it's just fine for us. But that was task 1, so T1 of 4. Then we'll move over to T2 of 4. And T2 of 4. Get a full overview of that one here. So it requires you to go into First Access. As I mentioned earlier in the recording, the First Access site was down tonight while people were in class, but it might be back up again by tomorrow. But here it's asking you to go into First Access. It gives you your username and your login as well. And it also gives you information about what you've got to do with this assessment. So part A is that you do an assessment on the well-being, the mental health and well-being of this client. Part B is you'll do the role play and you're talking to the client. The client's name is Mary, and you'll follow the relevant First Access policies and procedures. So that's why it gives you the First Access link to go in there. The instructions will tell you which policy and procedure is helpful. So you're not meant to know it. We guide you with our instructions. Just make sure you read the questions and get familiar with it. You can attempt and you can save your work as you're progressing through that, and just get familiar with the material. We spent 3 weeks on this unit, but it merges into everything. Of course, you could imagine that one unit makes sense for another unit as well. So regardless of how long you've been with HADA, this is a brand new unit. If you've just joined HADA, then everybody is learning this unit at the same time as you. So part C will be you'll complete the role play with another person, and that will be your follow-up with Mary, the client. You'll do a review. Hey, Mary, how are things going since we caught up last time? Tell me about some of the things that you've been doing, because you've developed a plan in part B together. So you've done a meet and greet, an intake and an assessment, explain what your role is at First Access, your simulated employer. And then you start to talk about what is it that Mary is looking for out of the service that you're providing. It even gives you a hypothetical name to work with. You must complete the task in your own time, means you don't require an assessor. You go ahead and record. Please go to your resources in Discord. If you're not in there yet, ask your learner support officers to guide you. That is where you will see a whole suite of role plays, do's and don'ts, Zoom etiquette, what you cannot do, cannot read from a script, what you must have in your background as well. What if you get most of it right and you get feedback? Look, I need to see a simulated environment. I need you to introduce yourself and the unit and say the name that you're enrolled in. Talk about what you're about to talk about. Don't just jump straight and say, hey, how are you, Mary? In live classes, we absolutely can do that because we've done our meet and greet. But when you're doing a standalone recording, you're putting something together which will be part of what you're submitting as your assessment. And maybe your trainer isn't the assessor. Maybe it's someone completely different who doesn't know you. So you must introduce yourself. You must say, hi, my name is, and I would say Vicky Anna, and this is the certificate for in youth work, and it is for the unit CHCMHS011, and I'm doing task 2. I'm doing Mary, and I'm going to do part A, part B, and part C. I'm sitting in my clinic, and the person that I've got playing client for me today is Harry. Harry is someone that I work with, and Harry is very supportive of my studies. So Harry is going to play the role of Mary for me, and it's simulated. So Harry will have read the instructions because you will have given them to Harry. But if you do this with a peer, then you're both going to swap those roles. You may do your recording and combine it with theirs, and you both then have that recording. And as long as you've introduced yourself, your recording will work for somebody else. You'll switch and someone will play Mary for you, and then you will play Mary for them. Okay? So that's quite possible to do that. You just need to remember to be on camera, both of you, the whole way through. When the other person is talking this Zoom, make sure that if you're recording in Zoom, you get free 40 minutes. Be ready. Don't you hit that. Your 40 minutes starts on the countdown, or you may want to do one for you and then jump back in and set up another Zoom session and the other for them. Record it on your own device, not in the cloud. Otherwise, you will not see both of you throughout. Make sure that your backgrounds match as if you were face-to-face, simulated if you're working with a client. And so try and sort of get your pictures in the background to at least look like you're in the same building as well. Come dressed as client, come dressed as a worker. Okay, that's what simulated environment says. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in our second task as well. And I'll give you two recordings for week one for this one. So if you don't get it right, it just means that you'll try again and we'll give you feedback. And your assessor might say, I love that. I just need a part two, and this is the bits that are missing. And that's great. Be open to that feedback as well. So just let me see if I can. Oh, I'm so sorry. Is it not loving? It's definitely not liking that. And it's not letting me jump into there. So with this one here, take you over to the observation checklist if it lets us go in there. It is not loving us back tonight. So what I might do now is we'll jump over to our second part for the night. And rather than talk about it, we will actually go ahead and demonstrate that for you. So if I was going to be getting ready to do a role play, I would make sure that you can see on the bottom left-hand corner, I have my full name, and I also have my First Nation, the lands on which I'm sitting on. But if I was going to be doing a role play with someone, I would adjust my background. I would be coming in as a learner, and I would set up, I've got one picture that I like to use. It's a bit similar to my own clinic. They're the colours that I like. I'm comfortable in those tones. And I like to just say, look, two chairs, one for me and one for my client. And I like to just, if you don't feel like looking straight into the camera, just look to the side a little. And look, I work with post-its. So if I need some prompts or anything like that, look, I'll have a piece of paper and I'll just put them to the side of my screen, and that'll give me 5 or 6 things just to give me a bit of a tip. And it also means that I'm not looking directly in the camera, which we wouldn't be doing if we were working with the client. So you would get your client to set up a scene background so it looked like you were both in the same room, and set that up and practice that. Have a look at it. Let's just do a dummy run, see what our scene looks like. Equally as important in getting that right as well. Know that you must provide ID, that you are you. So we're not interested in your private confidential information. We already have your contact details, your address, and your phone number and your email, because you've provided that to us. But when you come on camera, we need to know it's you, because we have from time to time had other people who aren't the enrolled learner doing role plays. So you need to provide that. How we do that is it could be I use my working with children check. I haven't got it in front of me, but let's just say my phone is my ID. So I'm just putting that up and say, this is me. And if you wanted to cover up your address because you had that on a recording, you just cover up that and you just want your photo ID. Or you can go into your learner's portal and you actually have a student ID number, a HADA one. Some people are really efficient, and I love it when I've been seeing it, is that they've gone and printed their name. They print out the unit that they're working on, the task number that they're doing, and they put their student ID. And so they jump on and they hop into that space and they go, hi, my name is, and I am doing, and it's all there. So this is me. So you're declaring then that this is your work. The same as when you submit your written work, it asks you to sign it and say that this is my own work, and you're authenticating that. And it's a legal requirement that it's valid, it's endorsed, it is your own work, and there's no plagiarism. So that's what all study is. You're getting a Cert for, so the level is higher than something that is a non-accredited course as well. So I hope you find that helpful. Just make sure everything's appropriate. But if, say, for instance, you couldn't get a picture up, you can get those off Google and then just save them in your pictures. But if working with IT is fairly new for you, I totally get it. Just find that and blur your background. Okay. So if you've got a blurred background and you're presenting your role play like that, come onto classes with a blurred background to keep that privacy, or set up a virtual background for yourself. But describe your room. So it's like, hi, Vicky Hannah, I'm going to be doing the role play. I just want to describe my room. So I'm sitting in a room, there's 2 chairs. I've got another person joining me shortly. I'm doing the unit CHCMHS011. I'm going to be doing task 2. And there's 3 parts, A, B, and C to this. And I'm going to do all of those together with the person that's going to play Mary for me in task 2. So let's begin. Let me introduce you to the person that's going to play Mary. I do the whole thing, absolutely everything. So you will only get 10 minutes for this. So it's reasonable to think that you'd spend 2 minutes at the beginning doing your introduction of yourself and the other person and the unit that you're working on, talking about your room if it is a blurred background, if you don't have a picture. And then at the end of it, you would summarize that. It's even good to do a debrief. How was that sitting in the chair for me? Let me take you over to that in another recording tonight. Let's get the live class to bring some of this forward for you and use that as a resource. So we are very fortunate tonight that someone has agreed to do their role play for task 2. And I hope you find that really helpful. So 2 learners helping each other, this is how it can work. And I hope that we can take a little bit of that stress away from you when it comes to the skills. Like, this is what you want to do. You need to be comfortable getting used to doing this work. You require it to get your certificate. Okay, so thanks everybody. This is the end of our part 1, but stay tuned. We've got a part 2 recording. Watch them both and that will guide you over.